Hi, welcome to the webinar today, Marketing Lessons from Selling Over $100 Million of Accounting Firms. Welcome you to the webinar today, and also my guest, Brannon Poe. Hi, Brannon.
Hello, Matt. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Well, I'm talking to you from very cold South Island of New Zealand. It's minus, it's frosty outside, probably a little bit warmer where you're from, Brannon.
It is. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, and I don't know what Celsius it is, but it's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit here today. So that's
Nice.
it's pretty warm.
Yeah, 30 odd it would be. Cool. Well, it'd be cool to know where you're all dialing in from today. So if you want to use the chat panel, just let us know where you're dialing in from. That'd be cool to know. And just a little bit of housekeeping. So you can use the chat to get in touch with us if there's any kind of technical issues, something like that. And we'll be taking questions as we go. So it's going to be a real conversational webinar. We're not kind of going to just do a bunch of slides. We're just going to chat through these things. So ask questions, and Brannon's happy to take those along the way, or we'll stay along for Q&A at the end. Oh, cool. Everyone's firing in where they're from. So we've got Sunny in Vancouver, John in Raleigh, North Carolina, not a million miles from you, Brannon. Hey, Mick in Michigan. I know you. Nevin in Ontario, cool. Oh, we've even got somebody in the Gold Coast in Australia. So it's 6 a.m. for you. Good on you, Joe, for getting up so early. Hey, Sophie. Sophie's in Wanaka near me, which is in New Zealand. Cool. So keep them coming in. We've got someone else in Raleigh. Very cool. All right. Well, we're going to keep this a nice tight session. So let's get into it straight away. And before we get into the questions, let's just do some quick introductions. So my name's Matt Wilkinson, and I'm the founder and CEO of Bizink. But you're not here to listen to me. So I'm going to introduce Brannon and just give you a quick story before I let you tell everyone a bit about yourself, Brannon. And the reason we know each other is that my wife works for a US company, and she was on an internal flight in the States and happened to sit next to Brannon, got talking, and Brannon said what he did, worked with accountants. He's like, oh, that's weird. My partner, Matt, also does that. Can't be that many people in the world who are helping accountants. And so got talking, and that's how we met. So it was a real chance occurrence. Well, we haven't actually met in person, but we've done lots of Zooms. And I've been pestering Brannon to do this webinar for a couple of years since he told me how much value of accounting firms he'd sold, because we were just talking about it then. A lot of the kind of industry experts, coaches, thought leaders, gurus, or whatever you want to call them, a lot of what they're talking about is opinion, right? Like it's their opinion and might be right, might be wrong. But when a firm is sold, that's a real thing in the world, right? It's a transaction, it's cold, hard numbers. And since Brannon has sold a lot of firms, he's seen the trends of what makes some firms more valuable than others. And so I think that's massively valuable information, because it's almost empirical data to say these are real things that happen. So I'm delighted Brannon's going to reveal some of that stuff today, and I'd like to properly welcome you to the webinar now. And if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, Brannon, that would be really cool.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Matt. Yeah, that was a very chance encounter, and that was probably 10 years ago. And
yeah, a long time ago.
We've had numerous conversations since then. So, yeah, I started. I am a CPA. I started my career with Ernst & Young, and I worked in public practice for about 5 years and decided that I really enjoyed sales work. So I started selling CPA firms here in the States in 2003. And then we entered the Canadian market, I believe, in 2006. And then we launched Accounting Practice Academy, which is a practice management workshop last year, right in the middle of COVID hitting the world. But yeah, I've been selling firms and just really I've enjoyed that from the day I started, and I still enjoy it. Every deal is a little bit different. So you're right. We've seen a lot over the years.
Yeah, cool. So thanks for that, Brannon. Well, let's get into the questions now. Any questions for Brannon? As I said, use the Q&A panel, which I'm just going to minimize my screen and get that out because it's hiding behind here. So I'll just do that, and we'll get the full screen back up. And just bear with me 2 seconds. Cool. I'll get out my notes.
Perfect.
Cool. All right. So we'll get into the more specific stuff in a minute, but I imagine you get asked lots of the same questions all the time, and they're probably the questions that everyone here has got in their minds today. So what are the kind of 2 or 3 most common questions that you get asked? And we'll try and cover those in the session today.
Well, I think the biggest one is, what is my firm worth? People want to know that. And then secondly, how long does it take to transition? How long will it take to actually exit my firm? Or how long does it take to complete a purchase from the buy side? And then thirdly, I say the question that we like to ask people, and sometimes they haven't thought of, and they wish they had thought of, is when is the best time to exit? When is the right time to be thinking about selling?
Mm-hmm.
So those are
Cool.
sort of the top 3.
Yeah, okay. And I've already had a question from Debbie, which is sort of related to one of those. So if you can just hold that one, Debbie, we might come back to that one in a little bit, because I think it'll be more timely, a little bit more into the session. So yeah, thanks for that, Brannon. And we'll try and cover those in the session and maybe come back to them at the end. So first question I want to ask you, well, actually not the one on screen. Do you say niche or niche?
I say niche.
I always ask it. Yeah, so that's always the one I ask to Americans. So I say niche, but we're talking about the same thing. So do firms with a niche focus sell for more than generalist firms? Because I get, I mean, I think accountants are sick of marketing people like me talking about niching and that kind of stuff. But you know, from a marketing perspective, it is something, not necessarily niching your whole firm, but like niching your marketing, I would strongly advocate for. But you know, in terms of selling a firm, do firms with that kind of focus sell for more than what we might call a generalist firm?
Yeah, you know, if we market a firm, hey, this is a niche firm, that in itself won't get attention. But what we've noticed over and over again is that the more focused the practice, it's generally a more profitable practice with lower owner hours. And that's because, you know, I had a mentor tell me years ago, there's a reason niche rhymes with rich. And that always stuck with me. And I had another mentor tell me that people vastly underestimate the power of focus. And I think both of those are really true. So if you have a niche firm, if you're focusing on, you know, even if it's a couple of things, or it's one industry, or it's one specialty, you're going to get better, faster, and you're gonna be more knowledgeable in that than anything, and that's going to drop to the bottom line. You're going to be efficient and you're going to be profitable. Yeah. Assuming you're pricing your services right. I mean, your firm and my firm are great examples of this. You develop marketing and websites and branding just for firms. I just sell firms and do practice management coaching for firms. So, I mean, you and I are perfect examples of this.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you're right to point out the focus doesn't mean just picking an industry, which yeah, we have done, but it's also like we're far more focused than that. Like we don't want to work with all types of accounting firms. We have a real kind of set characteristics of who we want to work with, what we do. So there's a lot of specialization and focus behind that. And I think, yeah, you know, I can think of like maybe an accounting firm that's not necessarily an industry focus, but like you said, a specialization or a certain service that they may do. It is so powerful when you stop asking a lot of questions, don't you? You know, it's like we do this, not that. And so you get into work every day. What are we doing? Well, not all of those things. We're doing this.
Yeah, An interesting example of that, I talked to a guy, I don't know, a few months ago. He only does tax returns for US expats. So US citizens living all over the world, that's their specialty. And it's grown to be quite a big business for him.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an expat living in Eastern Europe and you want to get your taxes done, that person's going to be really good at it.
Yeah.
Or at least that they have a good chance of being really good at it.
Yeah, yeah. And there must be a few million Americans living all over the world, and you guys have all got to file a tax return, right? Every year. So that's quite a big market. Yeah, yeah, cool. All right, cool. So next one. This is one that, when we were preparing for the webinar, you brought up, and because we've got this marketing focus, I thought this is a really great question. And so firms that have got a niche, particularly an industry one, I've seen them talking about, okay, now we want to compete nationally, which makes sense, right? It's like, but for example, like I see there's quite a few CPA firms that work with dentists in the States. And so, yeah, you don't want to be necessarily limited to a state. You could do the whole country. But I've seen some firms do that really well, and some firms do that fairly badly as well. So my question is, can niche firms compete nationally using digital marketing?
Absolutely. We're seeing it more and more. I think you're seeing the cloud firm technology improve dramatically. So the ability for them to service nationwide is only getting better and better. And the digital marketing, we use it for our firm. You can target your audience very carefully with digital marketing. I mean, it's the targeting. It's kind of creepy in some ways, right? Like you can really drill down to a lot of data points. We've seen firms. I've got a friend of mine who I'm in EO with, and he has a tour company. So he uses an accountant, I think, that's on the West Coast, and they specialize in tour companies, accounting for tour companies. I mean, that's just kind of baffles the mind, but I bet they're really good at it.
We've got one client who focuses on, just one that comes to mind, accounting for roofing companies, like the roof on your house. I mean, where did that come from? I don't know, but that's what they do, and then they got a business, they got a website for that. So yeah, I mean, the States is a big country, right? So New Zealand's got 5 million people, which is less than kind of probably any individual state in the US. But like it's potential to do that worldwide as well. I know some our CFO, is not in New Zealand. So there is the potential to do stuff worldwide if what you do is really specialized.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we're in a new world with technology, and it's you're going to see more and more of that. I don't think you're going to see less of it. You're going to see a lot more of it. We've run across numerous firms that cover different industries and different type of work, and which is good. I think it's good for the businesses that those people serve. And what we've noticed is, they're going above and beyond the compliance work. They're getting into more of the advisory work because they have a deep knowledge base. They understand that industry really, really well. And so they can offer those higher value services, and it's more profitable for the firm and it's more beneficial for the client.
Yeah, cool. It's a couple of things. One, most accounting firms haven't even scraped the surface of the potential of digital marketing. That's one thing that I would say. There's very few firms using the full potential. The tracking and targeting is interesting. If anyone wants to get deeper into that, there's a good documentary on Netflix, which is The Social Dilemma, which some people might have seen, which is probably the dark side of that. And there's a really good writer based in the States called Bob Hoffman, who writes a newsletter which you have to wait a bit to get on because he caps how many people can get it, but he's a very renowned marketing guy. So Bob Hoffman, I can't find it right now, but I'll find it and put it in the email that we send out after the webinar. So recording the session, and we'll send out the recording. But he talks a lot about tracking and the dark side of that. And his one this Monday was about how he was speaking to the UK government about the kind of dark side of that. So I don't know. I think it's on a, those companies are getting very big, so there is the potential for them to get broken up, but we'll see. So I don't know, but you're right. It is very powerful, that ability to track and target.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, and it works. I mean, we've been pretty big in the digital marketing space for a few years, and we wouldn't do it if it wasn't getting us results.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be a global business without digital, Zoom, that kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, Dick's right. Bob Hoffman is the angry get off my lawn guy of marketing. Yeah, he's an angry guy, but he's a deep thinker on marketing, and he's a bit different than the kind of the usual things. He's quite interesting. Well, look, if you want to check out your digital marketing, we have a free tool, a marketing audit. I've posted it in the chat. So some of you might find that useful if you want to see where your marketing's up to. Our team will have a look and give you a report back, but we'll carry on with today's session. So this is again one in our preparation. You mentioned cloud-based firms. You kind of touched on it then. Are they more valuable to potential buyers right now?
Yeah, we're seeing high demand for cloud firms that go up for sale. The first ones that were on the market probably were just on the market a few years ago. So it's a fairly new space. We've at Poe Group Advisors, we've really made an effort to be the leader in cloud firm sales. And we're seeing the benefit is you're not limited to where you can sell the firm geographically. You know, we've sold firms that are based in Atlanta that, you know, the buyer's out of another state. So we've seen a lot of that, and it works. You know, it's a total virtual firm, and really, if you're in a rural market in the United States, yeah, I'm sort of worried that rural small town firms are going to have a harder and harder time finding buyers. And so it's going to become more and more important for them to move to the cloud.
Yeah, cool. I'd love to talk about some of these new entrants into that market. Maybe maybe we haven't got time. Maybe we come back to it later. But you know, you've got like the pilots now, and another one. I think maybe right in saying Aston Kutcher's just invested in one. I might be talking out of turn there, but there's been about 3 or 4, haven't there, right, in the last in the last few months. So that's interesting. But maybe we come back to that one.
Yeah, we can't. I don't have a high confidence they're going to do really that well, honestly.
No, I'm definitely sitting on the fence with that one. I think there's yeah, my view is, so I have a friend who sold not a niche firm, but a very cloud-based firm, one of the first zero firms. And they sold it to another firm that was very cloud-based, and they weren't in the same place. So kind of all the things you're talking about there. But I was talking to my friend, who you might know, Wayne, actually. I think you've talked to him, Brannon,
Finley,
right? So
Wayne.
we
Yes.
have a coffee regularly, and what he was saying was that they did that whole thing, like, you know, you can be national, and they did win a lot of clients in other places, but what they found was that there was still a kind of desire of people locally to go, I like it that you've got a sign in our town. I like it that I can see you. And I wrote about this in my newsletter last week, which was that, you know, I always say times change, people don't. And so there is a bit where I think people do like that idea that someone is close to them. Some people don't care, right? But I do think there's a lot of people still who, for no rational reason, think it's better that they can walk into an office if it concerns money, right? That's why people get upset when the bank leaves their town, right? So I think that's the challenge those businesses have got to overcome. But Jeff Bezos has done pretty well with some of that stuff in the past, so we'll see.
Yeah, but you know, they do an hourly billing, which is kind of shocking to me.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to scale. So
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, cool. So you've got a tool, right, which I can post in the chat here for, tell me how that works.
Yeah, so we've got a practice value report, and you just go to our website /value, and we talk about the factors that make up the drive. What are the drivers for counting practice value? And most of them are fairly common sense, but we like to think about it in number of potential buyers. That's why cloud firms tend to sell for higher multiples. Is right now in the current market, we've got a lot of buyers for it, and we have buyers. We'll have buyers from all over the country when we sell one in Canada or in the United States. So when you think about practice value, you think about the demand, and so how do these factors stack up? How do they drive demand? And location being one, cloud being a location in a way. Profitability, right? That's an important driver. Believe it or not, the size of the firm, like there's different number of buyers in the market for different size practices. The team, as you get larger and a larger practice, the team becomes more crucial to practice value. If you've got really good solid staff. So there are a lot of those factors, and that report kind of does a deeper dive into
Okay,
those
cool.
and helps people
Maybe
understand.
let's knock off a couple of questions now. So Debbie's question was, how important is it to have your business valued?
Well, I think it depends on your time frame. The longer the time frame, probably the better. Like I had interesting conversation. I had a call from a seller years ago out of Toronto, and he said, yeah, we want to sell our firm. And I said, okay, what's your time frame? He said, oh, about 10 years. I'm like, whoa, you're really planning ahead. That's great. Let's take a look. And by doing that, you kind of understand where maybe you need to shore up the practice, what you can do to improve the value of it. So I think getting sort of an assessment sooner rather than later is a smart strategy for the idea of what can I do to improve the value of it going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I like that because we have no intention of selling Bizink, but we have a valuation metric in our financial modeling that we work to. And that's our assumptions, right? It takes in some of the factors you see, all the usual profitability and that kind of thing, how we value IP. And so it helps you run the business, in my opinion, is that, you think, well, obviously, I read a thing years ago, which was like, the kind of start to sell thing I'm not a big fan of. I'm like, just build a good business, because then either, you've got a good business or you can sell it. Either one is good. But yeah, I think it's good to have that metric in your mind, because as well, I think, you never know when an offer might come in. And then I feel like, if I were negotiating with somebody, I've got my kind of opinion set on why, we think it's worth this and this is why, and you're really solid in that.
Yeah. And well, I'll give the guests here a little quick hack. So we tell people in Accounting Practice Academy, we want you to track 4 metrics. Now, if you want to track more than that, that's your choice, but track these 4. And that's cash flow to owner, top line revenue, number of days off that you take every year. And then the 4th is just track your staff count, your staff sort of revenue by staff member. So those are the 4 key metrics. So, if you're not paying attention to anything else, pay attention to those 4 and watch what happens to your firm. Like it's amazing how you change those little measurements, and what you measure sort of naturally go the way you want them to go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was doing a session, me and you do EO, we do scaling up, so Vern Harnish stuff, and the what you kind of, well, it's Jim Collins as well, but the what's your critical number? And so, is it profit per client, revenue per client? And the way you can flip that, we're talking about the Gillette example, where Gillette used to do it profit per product, and then they switched to profit per client. And they started selling, instead of saying the disposable razors profit per product, they went to selling the handle and then selling the blades, which becomes a lifetime a long-term client, massively more profitable model. So it actually changed how they ran the whole business, was looking at that kind of financial metric.
Yeah. Well, I think the days off is one that people are kind of surprised by, but buyers more and more are looking for low owner hours in practices that they buy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Probably a different mentality in the generations, right? Of what, like, what you want out of life.
Yep. Yeah, and the younger generation, I think they're gonna. I think maybe they're smarter. Maybe they're figuring out like, hey, we need to figure out how to do this without working so much.
Yeah, cool. All right, cool. We've got lots of questions coming in. Please keep them coming in, but I'm just conscious I want to get through the stuff that we've got here. Claire wants to sell in 10 years too, so that's cool. Hopefully there's some stuff you can take from this. So next question I had, I'm moving away from digital a little bit, was how important is having a strong brand with a firm? Because that's a question I get asked a lot, how much does the brand matter?
Well, I think it's kind of like when you go to sell a firm. If I say, hey, this firm has a strong brand, that's not really going to turn a lot of heads. But what I've noticed is there's a strong correlation between a good brand and a good firm. And I don't think that's an accident. A strong brand usually means a strong reputation, which means low client turnover, low staff turnover. And I feel like, when a firm goes through a branding change or a website, even a website major overhaul or update, it forces you to think about the practice from a different point of view. It forces you to focus by zooming out on your firm. And then you have to answer all sorts of questions like, okay, who is my ideal client, right? Who do I really want to go after? What type of work do I really want to, focus on? What's currently working in the practice really well? Where are my profits coming from? What kind of work are we best at? So all of those questions have to be answered through a branding process. Mm-hmm. So I think brand, it sort of to me signals all of those things within a firm.
Yeah, cool. And I actually co-founded a branding company last year, and Brannon had me on his podcast as one of the other co-founders, Maggie. I'm going to put a link to that, not because it's worth listening to me, but it's definitely worth listening to Maggie, who used to work for one of the biggest branding agencies in the world, Ogilvy. She's worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, like literally huge brands. And we're talking about accounting for branding for accountants. So I've just put that in the chat there. That's a really good podcast, and you can check that out. Mark's asked, can you repeat the 4 key metrics? So if you don't mind doing that, and what we'll also do is put those in the email afterwards, because I think Perfect. they were really cool. But yeah, let's do that. Let's put them in the email, because I'm really conscious of time, Mark. So we'll put those in, send them to you, and we can go from there. So I guess somewhat sticking on the branding side of things, since I've been running Bizink, I've seen lots of firms change their names or talk about it from the kind of traditional surname and partners or surname and surname to, a brand name that's, just a word or whatever. And the reason they give for that is it's because they want them to make their firm easier to sell, because it doesn't mean they're intrinsically connected to it. Is that true? Does that matter?
I don't think it does. And we've seen a number of firms, I would say the majority of the firms that we sell, they don't keep the old name. I kind of feel like the brand, though, and the marketing collateral and just the experience that clients have, it's they have a thought about the firm, and that's, in my mind, that's the brand. It's in their mind. But we don't see a lot of fallout, quite frankly, when a firm changes hands. But we do a lot of work in the transition piece to make sure that goodwill flows from the seller to the buyer. And then it's up to the buyer to maintain that brand reputation. Mm-hmm. But but the name itself, I don't think is crucial from my point of view in a sale.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a good idea to be switching your name frequently. I don't think it's a good idea to do that, but we don't see a lot of fallout with a name change in a sale.
That's interesting. That's interesting. And what people mistake brand for is often the logo and the name, and not much beyond that. And I would just say they're almost at like not at the bottom. They're hugely important parts of your brand, but they're on the top of it. The brand is, you referred to it. It's like it's internal. It's how your staff work. It's how you deal with customers. It's how you write. Literally how you write. Do you write in this style or that style? So there's a million things that brand is. It's a set of values, and then if you get all of that stuff right, to change the little things like the logo, that's the bit that everyone thinks is a rebrand. That's the easy bit. It's not to underestimate design work, but that is the easy bit. Once you've got that's the tip of the iceberg, basically.
Yeah, imagine you're trying to paint a picture of the culture and of the reputation, and yeah, it's great work. I just know that going through that branding process, I mean, I've been through it myself, and to me, it's almost worth going through the process is worth the price of doing it.
Yeah, definitely. We've just done that at Bizink, and I kind of slightly underestimated the strategic part in that, because we're always doing that stuff, and we're always talking about that stuff, and that was actually the most valuable part of it. What we did there, it made us rethink some things, and constantly looking at that stuff is important. Brands need to evolve, and it's good, like you say, it's getting your head out of, because we're all behind computers now, right? And so I think anything that gets you out of the office or thinking about the business, working on the business, as people always say, is really good. And that, like doing a website or brand does make you do that.
Yeah, it totally does. Yeah.
Cool. Well, actually, that segues in nicely. So obviously, I'm a bit biased here because I own a website company, but this is something that we've talked about a lot in the past. So how important is a good website when you're selling your firm?
I think it's extremely important. I think it's important owning a firm. And one thing people don't think of is who's looking at your website. We've got clients, we'll do kind of our onboarding with a new client, and we ask them about what kind of marketing do they do, and they say, proudly, well, we don't do any marketing. We do nothing. And that there is I understand why they're proud, is because they're still maintaining and growing without doing that, which means they're probably providing really good service and getting good referrals, and those are all wonderful things. But then you think, well, gosh, if you did a little bit of marketing, what would it look like? And I think having a good website, not only does it help you grow your business, which is sort of what people think of when they think of marketing is growth, but it doesn't necessarily mean getting new clients, although it certainly could, but it's cross-selling existing clients. It's attracting the right staff to the firm. And I've talked about this before, is what happens when you get a referral? If someone one of your clients makes a referral to somebody, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to go and check out your website. So it's a first impression. And here we are in 2021. It's only going to be more and more important. I think websites are evolving, and you've done. Unfortunately, you don't just create a website once and you're done. You've got to continually evolve your site as time goes on.
I think that the existing clients bit is the bit that is really underestimated. You've hit the nail on the head when you said a lot of firms think of marketing as growth, client acquisition, whereas growth can come internally. And I think a lot of those firms, you probably say to you, we don't do marketing. I would also describe a lot of those as not marketing ready, because they don't have what I would call a true brand. They don't have something that they can go out to the market with. They've got a great reputation, they do good work, and that gets referrals, but referrals aren't marketing, they're an output of good work, right? You know, you can't say, I'm going to get 20 referrals this month. It's not a system, it's external. So yeah, that's the bit that I think a lot of firms miss, is that, you know, what if you could sell one more service to like 20% of your clients, or keep them for, you know, 1 year more, or that kind of thing. So I think those are the things to me where everyone talks about lead gen with websites. We're having this debate internally because, you know, we can say, you know, they want more leads from their website, but a lot of that is the firm. It's not just the website. You can't just, like, you know, get a website and expect leads to just come pouring in. But that bit of having a blog or a newsletter and sending clients back there to your website, I think that's super important.
Yeah. And, you know, people say, well, I don't want to grow. And a lot of CPA firm owners they have more work than they can say grace over. But do they have the right kind of work? Do they have the right kind of clients? So having good marketing can help you, you know, alter your firm and your focus to a firm that you like better. And, you know, I see all these CPAs, they work these insane hours, and you look at their client list, and a lot of those clients aren't profitable, and they don't want to give them up because, well, that'll just fall right off the bottom line. But if you're having good, high quality leads coming in, you know, if you take out your client list, go look at your favorite client on your list. If you had 3 more, would that make you happy? And likewise, look at the client that's the troublemaker, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you got rid of a few of those, would life be easier? Well, marketing can make all of that. You need to have sort of a healthy growth and pruning of the practice on a continual basis.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a website audit, which is one of our most popular kind of tools. I'm just going to post the link in the chat, and it's not just one of those SEO ones that people send you with a load of technical mumbo jumbo. It's like one of our team will actually look at your website, and it's not just saying the bad things, we'll tell you what's good as well. So I've posted the link to that in the chat, and yeah, you can take a look at that. So I guess we were starting to touch on that then. And if I were going to buy an accounting firm, or any business for that matter, I'd personally pay a premium if they could demonstrate to me a repeatable and scalable marketing model. So, you know, do these things, these leads come out, and, you know, that's easy to say and much harder to do. You know, somebody who's a marketer, you know, everyone's searching for that. You know, people talk about the marketing machine, and it's never quite like that. But if you can demonstrate a history of leads coming from marketing, how important is that to buyers, Brannon?
Well, I think it's a strong selling point. But the growth that this creates is probably the stronger selling point. Like, you're showing the buyer, hey, this was revenue 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and so forth. And you want that trend. You know, every buyer wants to see that trend going this way. And, you know, if we can tie that back to a marketing system, then great. Because that takes a lot of the risk out from the buyer's perspective. Growth covers up a lot of, you know, a lot of sins, as I say. If the service is, you know, if there's a learning curve that's a problem, or if there's some client loss, buyers worry about those things when they take over a practice. And so I think that would eliminate some of the risk in their minds.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool. And I think just to talk on that a little bit more, and what you were saying last time, is a lot of firms I talk to, it is that 1 or 2 extra clients a month. If they were a quality client, that's all that they want. But they're using marketing tactics that big corporations use. I've been thinking and writing about this quite a bit recently. I did a blog on it yesterday. Is that people look at like the Coca-Colas and the Netflix and all of that, whereas they're trying to get, they've got very different aims, very different budgets, and those things
Yeah.
don't translate very well. It's not a case of, hey, they're great, copy them. I always like sporting analogies, and it's like, if you're just starting off running, you don't copy like an elite marathon runner's plan because it will kill you,
Yeah.
So if it comes to like a corporation, they're just they're doing different things. They're a different animal. And so I think I'm a big fan of copying what works. Creativity is overrated a lot in marketing, and actually, really everything you need to know is out there. You can see it, and looking at the firms that have done well. And this is why I like this webinar, is that, like we're talking about things, these are lessons you've learned from firms that have sold. So it's real stuff that's been actualized. Copy that stuff. So that, don't copy a big corporation, copy an accounting firm that's a similar size to yours, that's doing the same kind of stuff, because that's what you're aiming at if you're trying to get 1 or 2 clients, not 50 or 100, because not only are those tactics not easy to do on the budget, or impossible to do on the budget you might have, that they're not going to get you the result that you want either.
Yeah, for sure. I see a lot of the cloud firms sort of probably wasting some marketing dollars, but I have seen some really fast growth firms out there too, and you got to be a little bit careful that you can service the growth. That's the other side of it.
Well, that honestly, when I started working with accountants, I was speaking to a firm in Australia, and I was talking to them about doing some growth marketing. They're like, I don't want to grow. I cannot grow. Like they were actually terrified. Like, that'll break us if we grow. And I was like, because I just come out of doing business marketing, and everyone just wants to grow all the time. And it was like, this is different.
Yeah,
all right, cool.
it's I run into a lot of people that don't want to grow.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough.
Yeah. Well, that's
but
all right.
I still think they should. I still think they should market. I think they should prune and market.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's like around where I live right now, probably around where you live, a lot of places, there's a big building boom, right? And so there's all these builders and trades companies, and they're doing really well. And they don't do marketing. They won't pick up the phone. I've got a few friends in that sector, and the good ones still do marketing, because a good business is a good business in bad times, and that's what I always think about. There's always a dip, there's always a recession, and marketing for professional services, anything B2B, there's a big ramp up time, and you don't want to be caught with your pants down, as they say. It's like, oh, we need clients now. It's like, we should have started a year ago. And that's for me, just having that, like you say, that ability to generate new business reliably, and not hope that referrals come in the door. That for me is one of the biggest reasons why marketing could, make me sleep better at night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Honestly, I think we could talk all day on this stuff, but we're going to take some more questions at the end. But to wrap up, 3 questions that you said at the start. The third one was the one that everybody should ask, but they don't always ask it. And when is the right time to sell? What's a good answer to that?
Well, the right time to sell is when you have something better to do with your time. And you want to get the best price that you can, and you want to maximize the value, but it's really a life decision about your time. And if you have a better opportunity that's pulling you out of the practice, that's great. Or if you have just dreams of retiring and traveling or whatever it might be, then you want something pulling you out of the practice. So the right time to sell is when something, you feel that pull. You don't want to get frustrated, burned out, and sell because you're just tired.
Yeah.
And the key to that is thinking about what you want to do, and kind of making those plans way in advance. And so I think succession planning should happen, at a minimum of 3 years prior to you wanting to exit. Like, when you start thinking that it might be time, that's when it's time to start doing a little bit of planning.
Yeah, cool. I really like that because, and it's a thing I like about you is that, I remember you telling me, I think you said you took a 6-week vacation a while ago in your business and it was the best thing that you ever did, right? That's
Uh,
right?
yeah, a long vacation, and I've got a book coming out, probably coming out next week, called The Unplugged Vacation. And the subline is how accounting firm owners can take a proper holiday without checking email.
Oh,
So
cool.
when I leave, I leave. I go off the grid. I don't check email or anything. And even if you can only do that for a week or 2 weeks, that's great. Do it. Too many people try to work, and I think our connected world is making that harder and harder. Or the expectations are that people are going to be available all the time.
Yeah.
So
It's not
yeah,
good.
no, it's not good. And so, one of the things that we've noticed is high performing firms take time off. The owners take time off. And you would think, well, gosh, how can that be? How can the most successful firms also take the most time off? But that's what we've observed.
I I'd love to talk about that maybe another time, and maybe we should, because I think that's something that I've experienced. I had a son last year, and first of all, took paternity leave where I was, pretty much off the grid, and that was one of the best thinking times I've ever had for my
Yeah.
business. All these different connections happen. And since I finished that, I now limit myself to, pretty strict 7, maybe 8 hour working day, and I include in that time to go for a run or train or whatever. I'm actually getting way more done. Maybe not more, but better work done. And good example yesterday was just, sitting at the desk, feeling, I've got all this stuff mounting up on me. I should do the run, and I could easily have just carried on, fiddling around behind the screen, go out for the run, and all the things I was thinking about just clarified in my mind, and I was able to come back and in 10 minutes just finish them, because different connections happen in your brain, and we're not meant to sit behind computers for 12 hours a day. It's
No,
not healthy. It's not productive in the end either.
no, it's just, and it's totally unnecessary. I mean, it's your work is going to take as much time as you give it. Like if you don't set up some guardrails, it'll take as much time as you want to give it.
Yeah, I think, is it called something like Wilkinson's law? Is some naval guy, work expands to fit time allocated.
Yeah,
It's just very
exactly.
true.
It's very true. Yeah.
Cool. Well, look, I wanted to, before we answer the questions, we've got a load of questions have come in, so that is cool. I want to leave some time for them. We've mentioned Accounting Practice Academy, which you launched last year. So people can read what that is: 8-week virtual workshop for accounting practice owners. And we have a special offer for that, which I designed this, which is going to horrify our brand designer who did all these nice slides and did my little flash here. Now, I've got the link for it here, but we're going to send an email after the webinar with more information. So you've got all of that. If you've got any more questions, a few of you asking for your details, Brannon, so we'll include all of that. But why did you launch Accounting Practice Academy?
Well, I've been interested in coaching for a long time, and I had this idea probably 5 years ago to launch an in-person coaching program. And with the brokerage business the way it was hard to figure out how to make that happen. With the time that I had allotted to the brokerage business. So I've been noodling on it, and I've been a coachee for a number of years. So I've been in strategic coach program for over 10 years. And I see so many different accounting firm, operators, and I see this dichotomy. I see some really successful people, and I see some people that are really struggling. And we thought, okay, this would be a great way to just help people get their practice ready for market. But also, it went deeper than that, because I feel like the profession is overworked, and a lot of owners don't make the money that they should make quite frankly. And it's not that, to me, it's not that, like, I can pretty much clearly see, if I look at a practice and see what's going on there, I can pinpoint what the issues probably are, and from a high level know what they could do differently. And so we've decided to put this video course and workshop. There's a big community component in it as well, to not only get people to understand these concepts, but to implement. So we wanted to make something that people would actually take action on, and implement. And the people that went through it last year have just really been happy. We've got this testimonial video on the main site, and people talk about, being able to take that 2 or 3 week vacation and not check email, and watch their margins go up, and change their pricing model, and get more into the type of work they really want to go after. So it's exciting.
Yeah, cool. Well, actually, a couple of those came through and signed up for Bizink websites, and they were both raving about the course. So I've seen that firsthand. Just want to keep some time for questions, so we'll include more information on like which type of firms should join. And the next intake is June the 4th. Am I right in saying?
That's right. That's not this Friday, but next Friday, June the 4th, we'll start the workshop. And it's we're excited. We're excited to have a new group, and we're going to probably create an ongoing, like a quarterly after program as well, and help people track those 4 KPIs that I mentioned, and just keep them moving, keep them making that change.
Well, we will keep we'll send those 4 metrics, because a few people have been interested in those. So put those in the email. Jim from Myrtle Beach says he did APA last year, and it's been a life changer for his practice. So that's cool.
Hi, Jim.
Also, APA means in New Zealand it's American Pale Ale. So that's a beer I like drinking as well. So that's cool. All right, look, let's keep some time for questions. We'll send out information on that, and we'll send out that coupon code as well. So I'm going to flick over to the questions, and let's go back to the start, because we've had quite a few come in. So was a question from Mick, which was, is there a minimum business age to maximize value?
A minimum business age? No. Well, I will say, I think when a practice is starting, like when it gets to be about 4 or 5 years after it's been established, that's usually a critical point for the practice, because the startup phase is sort of over, and you might have a little bit of a strange practice at that point. It could be that you're out of focus, you got all sorts of different clients, too many services, which is pretty normal for startup. Your fees might be off. So that's a pretty common point where changes need to be made. I think that did that speak to the question?
I think that's what I think. Let us know, Mick, if that answered it. That's what I was thinking as well. So another question was, if someone has just 1 employee, are they too early for your course for Accounting Practice Academy, just a single person firm?
I don't think so. We have had some younger people who were starting out, and what Accounting Practice Academy is it's a lot of it about mindset. So if you have these mindsets and you build your firm with those mindsets going forward, you will certainly get your investment back. Now, you won't get your investment back as fast as someone who's got $1 million practice that's bigger team and more established. But yeah, we've had people go through it and they were really happy about it. They felt like we had guy named Nick Jackman that went through. He was, I think, maybe the youngest member at like 30 or early 30s, and he felt like he just, skipped 10 years of trial and error by going through APA.
That's cool. Yeah. Might not, and I imagine there's not a fixed number on this, and maybe Debbie can reach out to you directly. But what are the fees in selling a practice? Maybe you can talk to that generally.
Yeah, well, our standard fee is 12%. We have some minimum fees in play, and we have some, for larger firms, we have some different tiers, but that's our standard fee. But I'm happy to talk with anybody and
Cool.
what you get for that fee and that sort of thing.
Yeah, very good. That was easy. Okay, cool. This is, quite an interesting one. Have you ever seen a foreign firm buying a US firm and then the owners being able to emigrate to the States?
Ooh, not for immigration purposes. We had a buyer out of Japan purchase a firm in Canada. We've had, I'm trying to remember other international buyers. We have had some, but not for the purpose of immigration. No.
Usually, I'm just going to guess here, but most countries, it's like if you're willing to invest enough, they'll let you in, right? If you buy a business for true. X and you get like, I'm sure it is in the States, because I have a friend who married, she's actually from South Carolina, his wife, and it was really hard for him to get a green card, and they were looking at options. And one, I was like, have you looked at the business thing? So we looked at it, and this is way back, but it was like, it wasn't mega money, it was like, it'd still probably call it like within the realms of a small business, but you had to have a certain amount in the bank, and I can't remember, but yeah.
I think it's the same way.
Insane.
Yeah, I think it's the same way in Canada. It's like an investor. They do look at investors differently than other immigrants.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, maybe just time for one more, which was I've got a few more coming in. What are multiples on sales of practices typically realized to existing partners? I had a read on a blog on your website with a guy you used to work with, which talked about that a little bit, which I thought was quite interesting. I can't remember the guy's name, sorry, but do you mind sharing some of that stuff?
Well, the multiple in the industry, there's like a rule of thumb, and the rule of thumb that I think is most commonly thrown around is 1 times annual gross. Most partnership agreements, if they're done well, you should have some sort of valuation formula in the partnership agreement. But unfortunately, I haven't seen too many partnership agreements that actually have the exit formula in the agreement. Some of them do, but I think unfortunately a lot of them don't. So I would encourage anyone who's thinking about going into a partnership or shareholder agreement to put your exit address the exit when you create the entity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. So just one final one. A couple of people asked the Accounting Practice Academy course starting next week. What's the cost for that?
So the investment is $5,500 US, and we do have a money back guarantee. So if you do the work in the first 3 weeks and you don't think it's right, then we'll refund the money. So and we've got a lot of information on the site about what's covered. There's a lot of just great information, and we're happy to talk one-on-one with people if they want to see if it's right for them or not.
Cool. Well, we'll include your details. So that'd be 5,500 minus $500, which you've kind of given us the coupon, right?
Correct. That's right. The Bizink.
Cool.
So yeah, they just use that on the checkout page, and we'll take $500 off for for the Bizink coupon.
Perfect. Okay, well, we're just about to come up to the hour. Yeah, we could go on. I'd love to, but yeah, I'm conscious of everybody's time. So first of all, thank you, Brannon, for coming along and sharing everything today.
Thank you, Matt. It's been a real fun, and it's been my pleasure.
That's been great. And thank you to everyone for coming along. Hope that's been useful. As I say, we'll send the recording. Any questions we didn't get to, we'll try and answer those. All the information about Counting and Practice Academy and a few things like those 4 metrics as well. So thanks for coming along and have a great day. See ya.